According to the
teams, these are the two highest scoring teams in the first quarter in the National Football League this year. The Rams are the highest scoring team in the first quarter. The Titans, the second highest team. So regardless of your opening series, these teams have been able to generate scores. Certainly, Kurt Warner looking anxious. I thought last week was his worst performance of the year. He wants to get back on that field as quickly as possible, Nick. Get that first completion under his belt.
And Super Bowl 34 is underway. And Tony Horn fields the kick at his 6-yard line and looks to work behind the wedge, and he's found a seam and is pushed out of bounds at the 31-yard line. So Kurt Warner, once of the Iowa Barnstormers and then of the Amsterdam Admirals, who put up such incredible numbers in the regular season, now has his biggest game of all. These are the guys that are going to be blocking for him up front. Pace, Newton, Grutadoria, Timmerman, and Fred Miller. Marshall Faulk and Robert Holcomb in the backfield. Holt and Bruce get the starts at wide receiver. Roland Williams is the tight end.
And Nick, you can hear it already. Noise will be a factor in this game, especially early in the game when the crowd is all juiced up.
It was when they first met in Nashville. And a shift of formation. They start with 3 wide receivers and a lone man in the backfield. And Warner will throw on first down. It's tipped up in the air, and Fred Miller very astutely picks it up. But they'll be dropped for a loss, and that's exactly how it started last week against Tampa Bay, a tipped ball.
Except this one wasn't intercepted today, Nick. Tennessee immediately came with the blitz and put pressure on Kurt Warner.
Josh Evans leading the cheers there as Josh got his hands up. The defensive front, coached by former Monarch Jim Washburn, has done such a great job. Curse, Evans, Fisk, and Holmes. The linebackers, Eddie Robinson, Baron Wortham, and Joe Bowden. And in the secondary, Walker and Roll. At the corners, Bishop and Dorsett are the safeties. Second down and 12. Bruce is the motion man. And Warner will hand off to Marshall Faulk, and he plows his way, still working, and eventually is ground down after a gain of 5. Anthony Dorsett was there on the stop. And that's going to bring up 3rd and long for St. Louis. Steve Jackson, who shadowed Marshall Faulk in the first game in the regular season with an assist as well.
Well, Steve Jackson doesn't normally start, but today, like they did in Week 8 when the Titans beat the Rams, they gave them their first loss of the season. That's what Jackson's job was on the field, a specialty player just to shut down Marshall Faulk. And that's Jeff Fisher's defense right there that came up with that idea.
3rd down and 7. Hakeem is the motion man. And Warner will look to pass again. The pressure's on, and Bruce makes a diving effort at it. And he's got the first down.
Isaac Bruce was wide open on that play. Had Kurt Warner been able to get it to him with him standing up, Isaac Bruce might still be running with that football. One thing about the St. Louis Rams, they're going to do a lot of shifting to see how low this ball is. Boy, that play should be replayed. They should replay that. They have a chance to do that in the NFL, to replay the play, but they have to do it before the start of the next play.
Well, the second this ball is snapped, that one is a dead play. It's gone. Again, motion from the Rams. They're showing all kinds of formations here, and Warner with a lot of time, then he's hit and threw it away as the pressure came right up front. And Josh Evans has made quite a start to this game. That guy is fired up.
Well, Josh Evans did not play in the first meeting between the Rams and the Titans. And right now, they're winning that battle. Ooh, that's a tough hit on the knee of Kurt Warner. And he hasn't taken a lot of shots like that this year, Nick. This offensive line has been very good at protecting him.
2nd down and 10. The Rams are just in Tennessee territory. The ball at the 49-yard line. And so far, they're containing Javon Curse. But that means that Josh Evans is making significant impact. Warner looking to throw, has a man, and it's dropped. Hakeem had a shot at that. And then Anthony Dorsett came over and cleaned his clock.
But even though that play was incomplete, Nick, that is a good sign for the Rams, because they went down the field with the football, something they were conservative in doing last week, and that's really their offense, to strike down the field in a hurry and put pressure on the defense. Hakeem had a step on the defensive back right there. And here's the throw. Warner, who's been incredibly accurate all year long, Nice touch on that ball. Tight spiral, right on the money.
Catchable. Should have been caught.
Throw by Warner.
Instead, it brings up a 3rd down and 10. They converted their last 3rd down. Warner from the shotgun fires, and he looks for Ricky Prohl, a hero last week, and Prohl picks up a 1st down. Working Denard Walker, the left corner, and this guy has really come into his own in the playoffs.
Ricky Prohl was the leading wide receiver for this team last year, but with Isaac Bruce healthy this year and Torrey Holt and the emergence of Oz Hakeem, he's been the forgotten guy. But you see, the Titans have nobody assigned to him. That's just his zone, and he beat Eddie Robinson on the outside, knew exactly how far to get for that 1st down marker.
And that's 2 3rd and longs on this drive that the Rams have converted. And Warner will throw again, and it's complete again. That's to the tight end, Roland Williams, and that's close to 1st down yardage, maybe just a little shy.
Well, Nick, when you can convert 1st downs like that and get 8 or 9 yards to your tight end, it really puts a lot of pressure on the defense on 2nd down. Now the Rams have an opportunity. See, there's plenty of time for Kurt Warner, and that's the accuracy right there, Nick. Right into the hands of Roland Williams on timing. No pressure from the Titans that time.
And they're going to bring the chains out.
Yeah, they come out for the 1st measurement of the day.
And one thing I've always been pleased about in this game, you know, we're not talking about centimeters and meters and all that. You know, an inch is an inch in this game, isn't it?
Yeah, and
that's about 1 inch short.
Yep. But it does. It puts the Rams in a great situation here. If they want to take a play and take a chance on the big play, a touchdown, that's something that the Rams have done all year. It's interesting to see what the play call will be here.
Well, as you said, Brian, as you see those numbers, 8 touchdowns on the 1st drive of the game. It's so tempting on 2nd and short. It's almost like a free play. It doesn't matter if it's incomplete. And, you know, Warner's the kind of guy that will think end zone. And certainly Dick Vermeil just comes out and says, we want to attack. I mean, this is a perfect attacking situation.
It sure is.
And Steve McNair waits for his opportunity. And Mike Martz, the offensive coordinator for the Rams, has sent in his play. The head coach in waiting. 2nd down and short. Motion again from Bruce, and they keep it safe and go on the ground, and a big hole. They caught him stone cold. Robert Holcomb, the fullback, just blasting his way to the 18-yard line, and a pickup of 9 yards, and that caught everybody by surprise.
Well, they came with the cutback play and really a surprise carrier in Robert the Hulk Holcomb right there, but got a good block from Orlando Pace, the left tackle, to seal that corner. You'll see it right here on this left side. That's Orlando Pace blocking Kenny Holmes down, and Holcomb finding the edge.
2 wide receivers lined up to the right. And Warner gets some pressure and flares it out to Falk, and he can't just quite get there. The pressure was coming right up the middle from Baron Wortham.
Well, that was a strange matchup, too, that time. They dropped Javon Curse, the leading sacker in the AFC this year, to cover Marshall Falk on the outside. You would love to get that matchup. But the pressure up the middle that time forced Kurt Warner into a hurry-up throw.
So Jeff Fisher and Eddie George and the Tennessee offense watching the defense get pushed around a little bit here. 2 big 3rd down completions, and the nickel package 5 defensive backs come in on 2nd and 10. They're expecting pass. Bruce, the motion man. Just 1 man in the backfield, and the give is for a yard. Marshall Falk. And that's going to bring up another 3rd down and long.
Well, as you mentioned, Nick, they've been perfect on 3rd downs in this drive, which has gotten them to this position. And certainly it sets up a huge play as we take a look at Floyd Reese, the general manager of these Titans, the guy that's been responsible for getting this man right here the talent that he has to play with.
3rd down and 9. They've converted a 3rd and 7 and a 3rd and 10 by going to the pass. And they have 4 wide receivers out. Now the pressure comes, and Warner just has to get rid of it.
Oh, there's a grab. Dalman Sidney grabbed Isaac Bruce in the end zone, and no call.
No flag, and Warner and the offense have to go off, but the pressure came straight up the middle from the Tennessee Titans.
Well, they came with more men than the Rams had to protect that time.
Damon Sidney it was.
Damon Sidney came with the blitz. Now Jeff Wilkins in here to try this field goal. He's missed 6 of his last 8 attempts.
And they fake it, and it's been busted, and that's a disaster. Well, what happened there? Mike Horan just had to pick it up and run with it. The ball seemed to be snapped before anybody knew what was going on.
I don't think that was a design play, Nick. I think Mike Horan bobbled the snap that time. The center is Jeff Robinson. Let's see if Mike Horan, I think he fumbled this ball. That's
he did.
It. He fumbled the ball. Now, every team, Nick, in the entire National Football League works on the play when you bobble the snap. But you cannot afford to bobble those opportunities.
So Tennessee stopping them with a bit of help from offense, a lot of help from special teams, and they have pretty good field position as well at the 29-yard line.
Well, it'll give Tennessee a lot of momentum if they can capitalize on that bobble snap, if they can take this opening drive and score themselves.
And they start with two tight ends, Wycheck to the right, Harris to the left on first down, and McNair will give it play action. And George will try and run, and then throws a forward pass to Jackie Harris, and after all that razzle-dazzle, they pick up 4 yards. Play action, and a flare pass out to Harris, but the Rams stayed with it all the way.
Well, you saw the team speed of the Rams on that play.
Well, here's a guy who answered so many questions last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Real toughness, gaining over 200 of their 291 yards on his own. And second down and 6 after the 4-yard completion. As we look at the backs and receivers for the Tennessee Titans. 3 wide receivers in. Eddie George just bouncing off tacklers and getting some good inside yards. We'll pick up another 4. That'll bring up 3rd down and 2. That's the way this offense likes to work. Nothing flashy, nothing sensational as we look at the Rams defensive front. Carter, Agnew, DeMarco Farr and Grant Wistrom. It's been a terrific group, that quartet. The linebackers, Mike Jones, London Fletcher and Todd Collins, the former Patriot, and in the secondary, Light and McLeon at the corners, Billy Jenkins and Keith Lyle, who hasn't started since November, back in at free safety.
And last week, the Rams were excellent on defense on 3rd and short yardage.
Kevin Dyson is the motion man on 3rd down. George alone in the backfield. A flag comes in. They get a completion to Dyson, and Dyson is pushed out of bounds by Todd Light. It'll be good for 1st down yardage if it stands up.
Yeah, there's a flag. I saw London Fletcher was blitzing that time. I think he might have gotten into that neutral zone. The defense of all sides that time. It's Bob McElwee, the referee.
Well, I actually caught Kevin Carter.
That's the defensive coordinator, Peter Junta. They actually have co-coordinators, Nick. Peter Junta is down on the field, and upstairs in the booth, also a coordinator is John Bunting. So they do it from upstairs and downstairs. They get a double-eyed view of what's going on.
Well, the Tennessee Titans convert their first down, and this is what they'll do throughout the game. A couple of yards here, a few yards there. Bird to the left, Dyson to the right, George in the backfield. Again, the 2 tight end formation. And George, and McNair rather, is running for his life and now gets the completion. No, it's incomplete. They were looking in the direction of Kevin Dyson, and the St. Louis Rams defensively stayed at home, and there was nowhere to go.
Well, at first, the Rams got their hands up in the passing lane of where Steve McNair wanted to go with the football. And then you saw the strength of Steve McNair to break tackles, to elude the defense and at least get rid of the football.
So 2nd down and 10.
You see Grant Wistrom there, number 98. He gets his hands up along with DeMarco Farr. And that's why McNair brought that ball down.
But you see McNair's strength as well, getting away from Kevin Carter. That really is a big asset in his game. 2nd down. And McNair with a lot of time. And he's got a wide open Eddie George, and George could be gone for big yardage here. Past one man, down to the 30 before he's eventually bundled out of bounds. Mike Jones and London Fletcher eventually making the stop, but what a play and what a call.
Great call, great execution, and how you leave Eddie George alone on this screen pass, I don't understand. It must have been a breakdown on the defense. You're going to see Benji Olsen, number 75, gets out front. Now look at the big eyes here of Eddie George. He doesn't see any Rams in his sight. Break a tackle right there of London Fletcher. That's the middle linebacker that just bounced off of Eddie George.
And that's Mike Jones eventually making the stop. 33 yards on the completion. They've got two tight ends lined up to the right this time. They're giving him a lot of protection. Now Wycheck flares out to the right. And the flags come in, so that play is going to be called dead. Todd Collins thought he had an easy one. And another penalty against the St. Louis Rams.
Delay of the game, that means a player jumped into the neutral zone trying to draw the offense off sides, Nick. It's a new penalty put into the NFL rulebook 2 years ago.
And offensive guys love that one.
Well, yeah, we like it because it used to draw us off sides if we couldn't hear.
So the ball to the 31-yard line. Dyson to the left. Chris Sanders in the game. And Derek Mason. Mason is the motion man. McNair from the shotgun. The inside handoff to Eddie George. George bouncing off tacklers. Eventually is gang tackled. Jeff Skanina coming in and making the stop. The first man there, number 90.
Those are tough yards inside, Nick, and you want to run the ball inside to keep everybody honest. To make you think that you can run the ball inside, you have to run it in there. And Eddie George is so big, and Steve McNair is so big, that when you're running it inside, by the fourth quarter, Nick, your arms get tired and they get sore, and it's difficult to make those tackles.
You hear people say tackling Steve McNair is like tackling a linebacker. He's so big. Again, this multiple tight end formation with George in the backfield. They really are playing a power game. And the rollout, and it's incomplete. Todd Light had the coverage.
Well, you'll see that a lot from the Tennessee Titans today, Nick. Two tight ends, that's the coordinator, Les Steckel right there. He's the guy that manufactures these plays for the Tennessee Titans. It comes through his headset down onto the field, and Steve McNair actually has headphones inside his helmet to hear the play.
And Light was there.
Boy, that was a great throw by McNair, too.
Isaac Bird.
Yeah, that's a catchable ball.
Could have had it.
Now remember, now Isaac Bird is starting for Yancey Thigpen, who's injured today.
3rd and long.
Stacked receivers down here at the bottom, Nick.
Now Wycheck just goes into the slot. And McNair will pass. The pressure comes, and McNair gets rid of it, and he can't find a man again. It looked like a drop for Steve McNair.
Really good pressure that time from Charlie Clemens and Jeff Skanina. Both guys getting on Steve McNair. None of them can bring him down yet. I mean, they're just sort of bouncing off of him.
And it brings Al Del Greco onto the field. Derek Mason was the man that they were looking for.
Boy, at one time this year, Al Del Greco had made 20 kicks in a row, a franchise record.
And this one has been spotted from 46 yards. Al Del Greco looking to put the first points of Super Bowl 34 on the board. The kick is on its way, and he's hooked it. So each team has had a scoring opportunity, and each team has failed to take it. And Super Bowl 34 remains scoreless. In a Super Bowl, but Tennessee unable to take advantage. So the kicking game off for both these teams early. Reminds me of last year's Super Bowl when Morton Anderson and Jason Elam had such problems.
Well, it's a lot of pressure in these games. I mean, the one bobbled snap, you know, by Mike Coran, and then Al Del Greco hooking one left from a makeable distance.
So St. Louis with good field position. The ball spotted at the 37-yard line. And Warner looks, and it's complete. Torrey Holt coming up with a huge play down to the 30-yard line. The speedster.
What a great route by Torrey Holt against Denard Walker, the cornerback. Denard Walker thought he had safety help from Anthony Dorsett and never got there in time. Watch this. Watch this rifle by Kurt Warner. Into the middle of the field. Perfect spiral in front of Anthony Dorsett there. Number 33. And then all these Rams receivers are able to run with the ball after the catch.
And that's something that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not let them do last week. Ernie Conwell is going into motion. Now there's more motion. Both these teams playing a chess match out there. First down, Warner will step up and throw. It's complete. He's got a man again inside the 15. Eddie Robinson on the stop, but Marshall Faulk is rolling.
Yeah, that was Ernie Conwell that time. Marcus Robertson out, so Anthony Dorsett is in, and they miss his experience back there. That time the Rams just exploited the matchup. Anthony Dorsett making only his second start in his career. Watch Kurt Warner step up here to get rid of this ball to Marshall Faulk, the leading receiver on this Rams team.
Roland Williams and Jeff Robinson have checked into the lineup. That's two tight ends for the Rams here on first down. And the handoff is to Faulk, and Faulk uses his speed to get to the 11-yard line before he's eventually corralled out of bounds. Blaine Bishop, the safety, making the stop.
Anthony Dorsett's father, Tony Dorsett, there. Only the third father-son combination in the history of the Super Bowls. Of course, Tony Dorsett played in Super Bowls 21 and 22 and is in the Hall of Fame from the Dallas Cowboys. I remember Anthony Dorsett when he was a kid. I played with his father, Tony, in Dallas, Dick. And I remember when Anthony was a little kid, I never thought he'd get big enough to play at this level.
And only his second career start as well. It's really big for him. They've got Isaac Bruce lined up wide left, but they stay on the ground. And just a couple of yards for Marshall Faulk as the bodies start flying.
Now that's the offensive coordinator, Mike Martz, of the St. Louis Rams. His first year here. Came from the Washington Redskins and has done a magnificent job molding this offense into the most explosive offense in the NFL this year. It's Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator of Tennessee, and that's the chess match.
Third down. And 5. They stopped them last time, the Titans. Can they do it again? Warner feels the pressure, gets some blockers, and it's incomplete. Nicely broken up by Denard Walker. They were looking for Oz Hakeem, but Warner was there all over it.
And the pressure is getting to Kurt Warner. I mean, the defensive pressure, Nick, of blitzing Kurt Warner is working right now.
So, attempt number 2 for Jeff Wilkins.
That ball just came off funny.
That could have been picked.
Yeah, I mean, that ball was a horribly thrown ball. And really, right there, Denard Walker had a chance for interception.
Wilkins, the kick is on its way, and we have the first points of Super Bowl 34. So cue the pyrotechnics, and Jeff Wilkins with a 27-yarder puts the Rams on top early.
In association with Nat.
Rams, they really needed some points. They got 3 on the board, so that's something positive.
And no doubt anytime soon we'll see that stat come up that tells you how many times the team that scores first wins the Super Bowl. And it's no coincidence, Brian, is it? Just getting those first points on the board, even if it's 3, it just helps settle the nerves.
Yeah, but this Rams team was the most powerful team inside the 20-yard line this year. For them to only get a field goal and not a touchdown, that hasn't what's gotten the Rams this far this season.
And you do feel, as Jeff Wilkins kicks it off, that the longer the Titans can keep it close, the better their chances. Derek Mason is the deep man, fields it a yard inside his own end zone and looks to try and find some running room, and there's not much there. James Hodgins blocked him, and then the help arrived, and Mason made an error of judgment. Leonard Little coming in and making the stop, but it was Hodgins, number 42, that stood him up. We're going to take another short break. Back in just a moment.
This is a run formation right here with Lorenzo Neal in the backfield, the fullback. But Steve McNair is changing the play.
And Neal switches sides. First down. And McNair will throw again, and he's got one of his big tight ends who is eventually wrapped up after a 12-yard gain by Billy Jenkins. But Jackie Harris coming up with the catch, his second of the day, first down.
Well, everybody talks about Steve McNair, how he's just a running back, and he is. But he just made a nice decision at the line of scrimmage. He saw something the defense did. He changed the play. He changed the fullback. Got the matchup he wanted. Jackie Harris on the safety right there. That time, Billy Jenkins, and they completed it.
First down. The handoff is to Eddie George. George looking to work his blockers and won't get a lot. will pick up 3 before he is crunched. Todd Collins was there on the stop.
And what you can't tell from that picture, Nick, is just
how
cold it's been.
Yeah.
How cold it's been all week here in Atlanta. You don't see the ice or the snow or the salt on the streets that have allowed it, you know, safely so we can walk around this city this week.
It was rough this week in Atlanta. These teams had their practice schedules severely disrupted.
Neither team was able to practice yesterday because of the weather.
Second down and long, they stay with George. George is met and stopped. London Fletcher says, forget that.
You know what his nickname is, Nick? His nickname is .com. I mean, get online because I'm coming. You know, and so he's always online, ready to grab up Eddie George this afternoon. He's the smallest player on the field. He's only 5'9". It's hard to even see him back there sometimes. Right in the middle of the screen. All he's doing is mirroring Eddie George. Wherever Eddie George goes, that's where he's going.
And he got there then. 3rd down and 9 coming up after the play from Fletcher. Now they're in a more attacking formation with McNair out of the gun once again. The blitz is coming. McNair manages to get rid of it, but it's incomplete. Billy Jenkins was steaming through untouched, and the Titans will have to kick it away.
Well, that was what you call a delayed blitz, Nick. He didn't come until after the snap of the ball. But when he came clean, got right in the face of Steve McNair and disrupted his throw. There's 22. Delayed just a little bit. Defensive tackle went left and he went right. Got right on the arm of Steve McNair, as a matter of fact.
So Oz Hakeem waits.
A very dangerous punt returner, Nick.
Craig Hendrick, who kicked well in the regular season, goes for a directional kick that has Hakeem backed up to his own 22 and in a corner. And he is past the 30 to the 31-yard line before being tackled by Lorenzo Stiles. Mike Jones. There's the pressure coming once again.
Good football game so far.
Right, Kevin, it's taken a dimension. It's taken the deep threat away. It means that the Rams defensively can really try and pack it underneath and not give this Tennessee offense anything. And it just builds the pressure on the defense to stop this explosive offense again, and Warner will look to go to work. And he's looking in the direction of Isaac Bruce, and that was so close. So close, but broken up by Samari Rolle, a guy whose stature is rising with every game.
No question about it, Nick, because Isaac Bruce had a step on him. Kurt Warner had time to throw that football. But this guy, and really the entire secondary that Jeff Fisher there has put on the field, has playing great in the playoffs. And that's just a fantastic effort by Samurai Rolle that time to stop that ball from getting into the hands of Isaac Bruce. You could tell it was a perfect pass.
Just enough, isn't it? It's just enough.
Great athletic ability to hang in the air and to knock that one away.
But they're looking for this KO punch, the Rams. Warner will throw again. He's got a man wide open, and Marshall Falk is racing down the sidelines with a man to beat and is pushed out of bounds by Denard Walker. A totally blown coverage.
And Jeff Fisher just said that. My fault. Bad coverage that time. You can't let the most explosive player in the National Football League alone out there in the open field. Kurt Warner saw it right away and exploited it. And that's what this game is, Nick. It's a game of matchups and decision-making. Perfect decision by Warner seeing it, and now the race is on. Denard Walker showing his speed to get Marshall Falk out of bounds. But that's a big chunk play, and that's Rams football.
52 yards. He had a 33-yarder earlier, Marshall Falk. And if you wondered why they call him the most versatile running back in history, and a fumble. Looks like the Rams managed to get it back. They had Amp Lee in the lineup there.
Nick, you know, this is the 18th or the 19th game of the year for the Rams, and you just don't want to see an exchange problem with the center, Mark Rudadari, at this time of the game.
That's the end of the first quarter.
Assignments, they will kill you.
Beautiful shot of downtown Atlanta, the home of Super Bowl 34 and the Georgia Dome. That's where we are. That's where the Rams are trying to build on this three-point lead. 6 defensive backs in now.
Shovel pass, and it's on the ground.
And it's on the ground, and it's still loose and bouncing around. And who's come up with that? Tennessee.
Jeff Fisher saying it's a pass. The Rams are saying that's a incomplete pass. That ball is loose, and the Tennessee Titans forced more fumbles than any team in the league this year and recovered more fumbles than any team in the league this year. That signal means right there from Bob McElwee, the man in the white hat, that they're going to look upstairs.
Well, let's see if we can take another look here.
Yeah, he's going to say this is an incomplete pass, which it is. That's a shovel pass. It's a forward pass, Dick.
There's no way Hakeem could get hold of it.
Yeah, nobody had possession of that ball, and that's exactly what it is. That is an incomplete pass. It's not a loose ball or a fumble.
So the Rams dodge a bullet. 3rd down and 9. And Warner with good protection. That's batted down. Kenny Holmes and Josh Evans were there. They hold firm again.
Keeping the Rams out of the end zone, and what we've seen this year, today from this Titans defense, the guys are getting their hands up and getting into the passing lanes of Kurt Warner. That's the second batted pass today for Josh Evans.
He's made some plays today as Evans.
And he did not play in that first game when these two teams met in the 8th week of the season. Getting that hands up. If you can't get to the quarterback, get the hands up and get in the way.
A 34-yard kick from Jeff Wilkins, and that's no good. Well, Wilkins has got problems with the tendonitis in his knee, but really you think he's got to make that.
Well, Nick,
so it's still 3-0 for the Rams over Tennessee. And make the stop. And it all means just a 3-point differential. And Tennessee have the ball, and Eddie George has some running room, and he's past the 30 and will pick up 7 yards before he's stopped. And this surely is the key for Tennessee. Keep George on the field, long drives.
Well, Nick, you know what the mantra in Tennessee has been? We win ugly. And sometimes, you know, it's missed field goals by the other team. They make big plays, but certainly at 3-0 right now, I mean, they got to feel good about where they're at. And certainly that first down run by Eddie George is what's gotten them this far this year.
George on 2nd and 2 is wrapped up after a 3-yard gain. Ray Agnew, the veteran defensive lineman for the St. Louis Rams, with the stop.
Yeah, Nick, and the Rams are the best defense in the league against the run this year. They hold teams to an average of only 74 yards rushing a game. No player in this league this year has gained 80 yards rushing against them. So they have been very, very stout against the run.
And you see the numbers there. Tennessee a long way off.
Sure.
At the moment. In fact, neither running game really clicking. The big plays
that's
all come on passes.
Well, that's what Tennessee banks on. Big plays, and really, you can't script big plays. They just happen when the team executes.
1st down. A lot of motion again, and a blitz threatened, and they're coming after McNair, but McNair rolls out and can't find anyone, and now he'll take off, and that's that dimension we talked about. Eventually stopped after an 11-yard gain. Kevin Carter had to come in and cut him down, and he got some help as well, but not until McNair had picked up a 1st down.
Well, sometimes the strength of Steve McNair is what happens when the play breaks down. Here you see the Rams blitz the middle. Tennessee does a great job of picking it all up. You see Ram bodies flying all over the field. Now McNair sees the spot. Now he becomes a running back, Nick. That's what it is. I mean, he is just like Eddie George back there with that ball tucked underneath his arm. 91 yards rushing last week.
51 of those came on a play in the 4th quarter to the goal line. 1st down. McNair will look to throw, gets hit, down, sacked. Another one in the book for Kevin Carter.
The leading sacker in the NFL this year. That was what you call a short set by the quarterback. It only took 3 steps, Nick. And Kevin Carter was able to beat John Runyon, the right tackle, inside to grab McNair by the legs and bring him down. Here he is, inside of John Runyon, 69, just beats him inside clean. Oh, that's a fast move. And he's going to the Pro Bowl in Honolulu next month because of that ability.
And a 6-yard loss on the play. 2nd down and 16. They don't like 2nd, 3rd and long, this team. They don't function well. They've got it back to the line of scrimmage to Jackie Harris, who's really being utilized in the passing game tonight. But it'll still bring up 3rd and 9. Billy Jenkins on the stop.
Well, Billy Jenkins is the second leading tackler on this team, but he's only 5'10", and he's being asked to cover tight ends, Nick, that are 6'5" and 6'4". So there's a big height advantage and size advantage, and it's that man's job there, Peter Junta, to get the defense in the right position to cover.
No, there's a good campaigner.
Yeah.
Clay Matthews, brother of Bruce. 3rd and long for Tennessee. McNair with that rollout again, and he's got a man, and it's another first down for the Titans. Derek Mason coming up with the play over Todd Light, and all these receivers, people like Mason and Chris Sanders, are stepping up because of that hole left by Yancey Thigpen's injury.
And they're able to step up, Nick, because Steve McNair is buying time with his athletic ability, avoiding the rush, buying some time to be able to throw the ball. At times, Steve McNair on the run throws a really accurate throw. And that's what Tennessee does. They do that nickel and dime thing to you, Nick. They pick up little plays at a time. They want to hold on to the football and move it slowly down the field.
McNair has completed 5 of 9 for 65 yards. Typical passing numbers for McNair. But the numbers don't tell the story with this fella. Play action again, and again that roll out to the right. They're working it, and it's incomplete. They were looking for Chris Sanders, who's really had a pretty disappointing year this year. They expected much more from him, and that looked catchable again. Todd Light was there. Kurt Warner's wife looking on.
Looks worried, doesn't she, Nick?
She does. I mean, how often, 11 minutes left in the second quarter, we've seen St. Louis with 21 points and Brenda leading the cheers, but not tonight.
And she's led a lot of cheers this year, as that man was only the second player in the history of this league to throw over 40 touchdown passes in a season.
2nd and long from the 41-yard line of the St. Louis Rams. They'll go back on the ground. And not much going on for Eddie George there. Good penetration achieved by another former Amsterdam Admiral, Jay Williams.
Of course, didn't play in the same team as Kurt Warner, but got his start over in NFL Europe. Brings up a key 3rd down here for Jeff Fisher and the Tennessee Titans.
Well,
see how they all huddle? They all huddle facing Steve McNair as he barks out the signals and gives them the commands. The chess match is on here, Nick.
It really is a loss of yardage on the play, so McNair will go to the shotgun again with a slot receiver in place as well. The pressure's coming. Oh no, the penalty flags are down. Mike Jones was just zeroing in on McNair, but the flag came in, and we'll hear from Bob McElwee again. And that is Bruce Matthews, of all people.
Yeah.
The 17-year man.
Well, we just saw pictures of his brothers in the stand, Clay Matthews, and Clay played 19 years in this league. So
what's in their gene pool? I mean, that's incredible.
I want to know what they feed at each other at the dinner table. Yeah, I mean,
you played 13 years, and that was pretty good for an offensive lineman.
Right, Nick? Geritol is your key. And that the substance that you put in your body to keep you as young and keep me as vigorous as you are.
As healthy, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't compare with those guys, not the Matthews brothers. So a 3rd and 11 becomes a 3rd down and 16, and this Tennessee offense is not built for this kind of situation. McNair will work from the shotgun again, and will look, and Kevin Dyson was the intended receiver, and Dyson had got past the coverage, but he couldn't quite bring it in.
He had to go up high for that ball. I think it was right there, though. I think McNair threw a pretty good pass. I think it was untouched, and it got there. See here if it bounces off anybody. I think this is right to Kenny Dyson. Right through the hands. I mean, you can't ask anything more in that situation from Steve McNair.
It was high, but it was catchable.
Absolutely. In a game like this, you have to make great plays, Nick.
Craig Hendrick will kick it away to Az Hakim, who is waiting at the 10. And it was nearly blocked. Billy Jenkins came through again. And Hendrick's kick will be downed at the 16-yard line. 9:29 remaining in the first half of Super Bowl 34. The Rams still holding that slender 3-point lead, but they have the ball as well.
In association with NASDAQ.
I gotta get away. I wish that I could fly into the sky so very high, just like a dragonfly.
Tennessee are 13-1 when they scored.
Good hands, though.
He
He had
did.
really good
He did.
hands, and then Kevin Greene is right. If you can touch it, you can catch it.
And there's some good hands
Yeah.
from Billy Jenkins, just getting a little piece of that kick. 31 yards in the end for Craig Hendrick, and now the Rams. Can this slow-burning offense spark into life here? Warner with a lot of time, and he's got Bruce on the crossing pattern, and Bruce gets past Samari Roll, and then is hit by Blaine Bishop coming over from safety. But those crossing patterns can wreak havoc on defenses.
Well, they can, and the key to that crossing pattern is where Kurt Warner got the ball to Isaac Bruce. A chance with Bruce to run with the ball after the catch. And that's what's made this team so dangerous. A little 5- and 10-yard route, Nick, has turned in to big-time plays.
This guy doesn't want, as we see Dick Vermeil there, he doesn't want the Tennessee Titans hanging around in this game.
Now, the key for the Titans to tackle well after the Rams catch the ball. Marshall Faulk at wide receiver
now with Holcomb alone in the backfield, and he's looking for Faulk, and he's got him, and Faulk is wrapped up by Anthony Dorsett. Blaine Bishop came over and gave him an assist as well. And you talked about Anthony Dorsett, and you said just his second start, but so far he's holding up pretty well there.
Well, that was an example of the Rams trying to exploit Anthony Dorsett in coverage against Marshall Faulk. They went right after him. It was a specific play put in to maybe take advantage of his inexperience back there, Nick. And look for that a lot today. Solid gain on first down.
Brings up a second down and 4. Bruce lined up wide left. Ricky Prohl is in the slot. And Faulk again. And a flag comes in before anything can happen here.
Yeah, it was a tight end, Roland Williams.
It looks like, may have made a move. Well.
Kenny Holmes jumped into the neutral zone. Number 99 there for Tennessee, drawing Roland Williams off sides. So it gives the Rams a first down. New set of downs to work with here, Nick. And every single time the Rams come out of the huddle, you see a different formation. Players going all over the field in different positions.
I mean, we've had Faulk lined up wide. Now we've got Holt and Bruce, the speedsters, lined up wide. The two tight ends, Faulk in the backfield. And Faulk it is that'll get the carry. Not much doing there. They stayed at home. There was no running lane for Marshall Faulk. And he will be brought down after a modest gain of 3 yards. Josh Evans and Javon Kearse making the stop. We haven't called Javon Kearse's number too much tonight.
No, he's been very quiet today. Of course, Kurt Warner, that was him when he was with the Ira Barnstormers of the Arena League. A shortened field, a 50-yard field indoors, threw 183 touchdown passes in this league. And then, of course, in NFL Europe with the Amsterdam Admirals.
And now, NFL MVP and playing in a Super Bowl. What a story.
What a road to stardom.
Second down, again, lots of motion. And they look, and they've got Bruce again, and Bruce finds the seam and picks up 17 yards on a first down, and they worked Anthony Dorsett on that one.
Now, Steve McNair can only look on, but this Rams team looks like it's heating up, and it's warming up, and it's finding a rhythm right now, Nick. Now, you haven't seen pressure in Kurt Warner's face right now. Warner getting rid of that ball. Isaac Bruce, you know, a dangerous guy in the open field, very difficult to bring down. And look at that! Look at that shot by Orlando Pace.
Pace on Kenny Holmes. Oh, offensive linemen live for that.
That's a two-handed punch right to the chest, Nick.
Warner.
Beautiful.
On first down. Another catch made. Another first down. 13 more yards. Torrey Holt says, I caught that one.
That was Denard Walker on coverage. That right there is Trent Green, the guy that was injured early in preseason, allowing Kurt Warner to take over.
And he was playing so well. That's the thing. It's not like he was a dud. I mean, it was, you know, the Rams offense was ready to go with Green or Warner, wasn't it? This thing was built to rumble.
It really was. Trent Green only missed 4 passes in preseason.
Warner closing in on 200 yards. And he'll pass again. And he's got an man again. Robert Holcomb will get a short gain before he was met and flattened.
Well, what we've seen from the Rams is they've been able to drive the ball down the field. They just haven't been able to get points off of their drives. Now, if this continues, it continues to give Tennessee hope. It keeps them in the ball game, and it begins to deflate the Rams and what they're trying to do.
Second down. And long.
I think I saw him calling a 46 defense, Nick, which is a pressure defense where they cover the inside three guys and they blitz off it.
Holt wide left, Troll wide right. Ernie Conwell's in the lineup as well, and they're looking for Torrey Holt, and they've got him. And what a perfectly thrown ball that was from Kurt Warner. He could only find his receiver, and Dane and Sidney can only just make the catch, or rather the tackle, but only after the first down.
And he came sidearm with that ball, a lot like a pitcher will come sidearm in baseball, and there's not much you can do to defend against that. Kurt Warner right now, watch this ball come out sidearm. Almost throwing it around three players. I mean, three guys right there on Torrey Holt. Kurt Warner put it the only place he could put it. That's why he was the most accurate quarterback in the league this year.
And Mike Marks, the offensive coordinator, working his scheme to perfection. The pump fake. Warner looking downtown, and a flag comes in.
Yep. Torrey Holt was held. That's
no question about it. Denard Walker, who's having a tough time out there.
He's had a great playoff run, but right now, the speed of these receivers. He grabbed him after 5 yards down the field. You're going to see him in coverage right here. Torrey Holt with a little inside then outside move, and all he could do was grab him at that point. And it's good that he did. Otherwise, this would have been a touchdown.
This is a touchdown. And Holt says, yeah, you get that one. Thank you.
And the Rams now first down inside the 12-yard line.
Another red zone opportunity. They were so successful in the regular season. Been horrible here. Can Warner get it right here? He can't on that occasion. It's incomplete. He was looking in the direction of Roland Williams, his big tight end. Second down and 10.
Well, they weren't good in the red zone last week against Tampa Bay either, Nick. In fact, Kurt Warner threw a dangerous interception down here a week ago. And it's difficult to operate your offense down in what they call the red zone, Nick, because it's so compressed. This was just that was a bad throw.
Not a good thrown ball.
No, I mean, Kurt Warner has been so accurate on this drive, and then to throw that pass that easily could have been intercepted.
Well, he will make mistakes. Everybody does, but Warner's mistakes in the regular season have been rare. And he was lucky not to be punished on that occasion. Javon Curse lining up. Warner looking, throwing touchdown, and he's dropped it. They're ruling it incomplete. Blaine Bishop was there and broke it up. He was one footstep away from a touchdown, and he couldn't hold on.
Great effort by Blaine Bishop to strip that ball out of Torrey Holt's hands. It was a great throw, great route, and great defensive play by Bishop. And Torrey Holt said, yep, that's my fault. That's the rookie's hand. It's my fault. I had that one.
But give some credit to Blaine Bishop as well.
Here it is, Blaine Bishop behind Torrey Holt. Now watch this effort. That left hand stripping that ball out.
Can't play it any better than that. And it brings up third down and 10. Can Tennessee hold him again? Warner with time. Still with time. Fires. Incomplete. Boy, they hold firm again.
Another bad throw by Kurt Warner that time. And Jeff Fisher, he's got to feel great right now, holding them out of the end zone for the fourth time today.
When you look at the offensive numbers in this game so far, you would think it's a complete wipeout. But in fact, Tennessee still within 3, possibly within 6 if this kick is successful, and who knows what's going to happen with this. Yep. This is a 29-yarder. And he's nailed that one. So with 4 minutes and 16 seconds left in the first half, the pyrotechnics go off and St. Louis double their lead to 6.
NASDAQ.
Well, night has descended in Georgia, and we're 4 minutes and 16 seconds away from half-time, and a spectacular half-time it's going to be here in the Georgia Dome as Jeff Wilkins kicks it off, and Derek Mason, who can be dangerous, fields at the 7 and looks for the seam. Can't find it. He's wrapped up and down at the 25-yard line. Charlie Clemens, who's had 23 special teams tackles in the regular season, tacks on another one right there. Timeout on the field.
Skysports with NASDAQ.
He needs to throw the ball and take a little pressure off of George now.
against this #1 rated Ram defense that's so tough to run against. First down with a slot receiver in. That's Joey Kent. And McNair will throw and looks, and it's incomplete. Broken up by Todd Collins. He was looking again for the guy who's been the favorite receiver in this first half, Jackie Harris.
Well, this is a tight end based offense. So they go to Jackie Harris and they go to Frank Wycheck a lot. Frank Wycheck, leading receiver now the last couple seasons for the Titans. He was matched up that time by Billy Jenkins. They try to get those guys down the field.
So 2nd down and 10 after the incompletion, and the Titans, for all their defensive heroics here, are really struggling to move this ball. And they show blitz, but then they don't come, and McNair is almost picked off. Todd Light had a piece of that ahead of Kevin Dyson.
You know, the first time these two teams met earlier this year, Nick, Steve McNair only rushed for 36 yards on 12 carries. I mean, the Rams do a good job of bottling him up and not letting them beat him. They want Steve McNair to make that. Right now, Todd Light has to make that catch. I mean, that's an interception. That's a play that Todd Light, who's in the Pro Bowl this year for the first time, should make. Good read on the ball, bad face mask.
But it's another high-pressure situation, 3rd and long, and I said it before, Brian, it's not a 3rd and long offense, this. They like to grind it out from the gun. The pressure comes. He's flushed out of the pocket, looking, and it's incomplete. And this Rams defense right now is stifling the Tennessee's offense. Eddie George virtually no factor through this first half, and McNair pretty much contained apart from one run.
Well, they're putting him in 3rd and long situations. Of course, last year's MVP John Elway made his retirement on the sidelines here today. Been around Atlanta all week. This Rams defense is playing exceptional. As I mentioned earlier, that man back to return his punt, Azakim, one of the most dangerous in this league.
Well, they came after Hendrick again and almost got it again, and Hakeem may have a shot at returning this, but he's corralled down by Danon Sidney, who did a great job of holding him up because there was a lane there if Sidney hadn't hung on.
Alan Lowry, former coach of the Dallas Cowboys, special teams coach, doing a good job.
We haven't seen a big special teams play from either side so far, and they both thrive on them, don't they?
Well, they thrive on them, and they've been big plays in past Super Bowls, Nick. If you remember, just 3 years ago, Desmond Howard of the Green Bay Packers was the MVP of the Super Bowl for all of his excitement that he provided that day.
Well, he was the difference between the Green Bay Packers and the
New England
Patriots that day. Tim Dwight, of course, for Atlanta when it was too late. He returned 190 yards. Now Roland Williams checking into the lineup. Again, lots of motion and movement from this Rams offense, just designed to create havoc, and Marshall Faulk can take advantage of it. And Faulk picks up 6 yards, and a late flag coming in.
Late flag. That looked like it might be a personal foul coming in that late. Holding on the Rams. First penalty for the Rams today. That came all the way from the back judge about 30 yards away.
That's Roland Williams. So that negates a useful run, and instead of a 2nd down and 4, they face a 1st down, and it looks like 20.
Well, with 3.5 minutes to go in this first half, Nick, the Rams are in a situation here. Do they sit and try to protect the 6-point lead and run some of this clock, or do they attack? Their personality attacks,
yeah,
Nick.
They go for the jugular every time they've got the ball. But then also they don't want a turnover in this area. So Tennessee defensively with their sniffing something out here, but they can't get it on that occasion because Marshall Faulk is pushed out of bounds by Joe Bowden after a pickup of 7. But if Tennessee can hold them here, they've got a real chance at getting some kind of field position with a couple of minutes left in the first half.
And Nick, this is only a 1-score difference in this game. As much as the Rams have dominated this first half, right now Tennessee is only a touchdown away from taking the lead. Certainly we've seen the versatility of Marshall Faulk today, lining up at wide receiver, carrying the football, and also receiving it out of the backfield.
Holt lined up to the left, Bruce to the right. Jeff Robinson goes in motion. And it's tipped.
Another
and it
tip
falls
pass.
incomplete. That was Steve Jackson got his hands on the ball, I believe.
I tell you, these defensive linemen have been well schooled this week getting ready for Kurt Warner, because they are timing some of his passes perfectly, getting their hands up in the air and tipping a ball.
We haven't seen too much of the freak in this game, but he is a guy who's made such an impact, and comparisons already with Lawrence Taylor. Surely that's a little premature, but nevertheless a real presence.
Well, Fred Miller, who had a very bad game against him the first time around, is playing very well against him here this evening.
We've barely called his number. And now 3rd and long. And Tennessee trying to keep it close.
Whoa.
But they don't again, because Kurt Warner just threads a perfect ball to Torrey Holt, working on Dane and Sidney. And it's almost impossible to defend that.
Let me tell you something. We had a great view of that from up here, Nick. That was the most perfectly thrown ball all day by any quarterback, and just threaded it between two defensive backs. Nice concentration by Torrey Holt to bring that ball in and get his feet down. There's Dane and Sidney right there. Look at him dragging both feet down. Line judge right on top of that call, and here's Fred Miller working on Javon Curse and Adam Timmerman. The man they call the freak hasn't been freaky today.
4 wide receivers, and from the shotgun on 1st down. Warner feels some pressure on his sacks, and it's a loose ball.
Wow.
Now, was that a fumble, or are they going to say that's an incomplete forward pass? Warner had a problem fumbling earlier in the season, but seems to have...
We're saying it was a sack.
Yep, they're saying he's down by contact, and that takes us to the 2.